doesn't do much. It just kind of sits there. It's dead, right? And then over here we have deeds without faith, and it's kind of pointless. There's not really any point to these skateboard wheels, all right? You can't really do anything with them without a purpose for them, right? They have to be attached to something. They need to have something else for them to actually be used to. Without actually having faith, it's the same thing as just being a set of wheels, all right? There's not really any point to it. As in fact, if you go into the book of Isaiah, it's an Old Testament book. It's kind of interesting there as well, because basically Isaiah says that when you have deeds without faith, all right, and in fact I'll get the exact words here. He says, our righteous acts are like filthy rags without faith. So there's some people who believe over here that the amount of good things that I do, that eventually, hopefully, God's going to smile down on that and say, oh, good job, here's a reward for the good things that you do. And Isaiah says that that's not exactly how God works. That in fact, without a purpose to it, without the faith, without actually believing in God, that those good deeds actually aren't useful for anything. In fact, I was reading this verse, and the actual word there, the filthy word, actually in the old language or whatever, is actually dirty toilet paper. All right.
What filthy word?
That's what
Exactly.
means?
Like the word in the Bible that's actually dirty toilet paper. That's the Hebrew word that's actually used in the Old Testament. So he says that our good deeds, the good things that we think that we're doing that are going to get us a reward from God, are actually the same thing in God's eyes as dirty toilet paper. Yeah, exactly. Yum. And so we have kind of these two sides. We have believing things, all head knowledge, all things that, I can tell you the Ten Commandments, I can do all these sort of things, but there's no deeds, and we're dead. And we have on the other side, we have deeds without faith, and we're pointless. And so these are the two things that I wanted to talk about tonight, because I know the last couple weeks you guys have looked at what it actually means to follow Christ. You've learned that we need to turn our lives over to Christ. And I think tonight, and more, what I want to do is I want to talk about what's the next step. What's the next step that instead of taking that head knowledge, taking what I know about Christ, how do I actually live that out in a life around me? How do I live that out in high school? How do I live that out in a life that's not always the best? How do I live that out when my parents are yelling at me? How do I live that out in everyday life, honestly? How does that make a change in my life? And that's what we're going to be looking at it more tonight.